All right, people, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a quick video. I'll honestly be surprised if it's more than 10 minutes. I really just kind of quickly wanted to talk about this movie Pig that I watched with Nicolas Cage. I don't even know where to begin. Like, it's one of those movies where you're watching and you're just, the entire time, you're just like, what's going on? Where's this leading to? And what is going on? All right, so quickly, in this movie, Nicolas Cage plays a ex-chef who now has a pig that he uses to basically find truffles, and he sells those truffles to this guy played by Alexander Wolf. His name is Amir in the movie. And also, I reviewed this other movie called Cop Out, which has his brother in it. And I had to look this up that they were brothers because I remember watching Cop Out and thinking, wow, this guy looks really familiar. And then I watched this and I was like, this guy looks like that other guy. And then I looked it up. Turns out that they're both brothers. And you've probably seen stuff that they're both in. I think Alex is probably the more of the popular. He was in Hereditary. He was in that M. Night Shyamalan movie Old. So you've probably seen him more than the other one. The other one, the biggest thing I think that he did was the Death Note movie on Netflix, which was not good. Back to the movie. So Nicolas Cage sells his truffles to Amir, played by Alexander Wolf. And so when this movie starts off, it's one of those things where you're just like, stuff is in slow motion, high res. He's like cooking. And until Amir's character shows up, you don't know what time period we're in because he's out in the woods. He's all dirty, scruffy. He lives in like a log cabin. And so you're confused for a good minute that whether this is modern times or not. But once Alex shows up and buys truffles for him, you know that he is. And Alex's character is concerned for him, Nick Cage, whose character's name is actually Rob, but we're just going to call him Nick Cage, just to, keep it simple. Later in the day, after selling the truffles, some people come, they break into Nick Cage's house and steal his pig. All right. So, of course, he wakes up and they beat Nicolas Cage up. So he's bloody. He has like blood and dirt on his face. And I just want to let you know throughout this entire movie, this man does not wash his face. It gets dirtier and bloodier as the movie goes on. And he refuses to wash his face. I think maybe like the last 10 minutes, he's cleaned up his face. And that's because he's in someone's house cooking. So he calls up Amir and he's like, yo, I got to find this pig. You know what's going on. Like Amir's character is made out to be like this like arms dealer in truffles. Like this whole thing is kind of about the food industry. Really. Is because I think there's like 2 or 3 different title cards. And I want to say that they're named after foods or something. Oh, I don't remember, but it's stuff like that. And so Amir's like, doesn't want to really, he wants to help Nick Cage find his pig, but at the same time, he doesn't.
You might. I'm not taking you to the fucking city, okay? That's where I do my business. Listen, what I do is all about my reputation. People talk.
People talk?
Because again, it seems like he's an arm dealer. He doesn't want to be seen. He wears like a trench coat almost, a business guy, and everyone knows him. And there's all these like interpersonal relationships that you can tell like all these people have. And as we're going through this and Nick Cage is going and talking to people, we kind of find out that he was like this really big chef because whenever his name is said, people like pretty much stop talking. If he asks them a question that they didn't answer before, once they find out that it's him, they go ahead and answer him and give him something, right? So throughout this, each movie, he's just going from person to person talking, all right? This movie's just filled with a lot of talking. A little and a lot of talking at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. Because one of the things that made me watch this movie was when it was first coming out, there's this tagline that was basically something like John Wick, Nicolas Cage's John Wick or the new John Wick or something like that. So I'm thinking, oh snap, we finna see Nick Cage go off. He's finna go find these people, kill these people who killed his pig and all that. No, all he does is just go from person to person talking, asking, hey, do you know about a pig? Do you know who stole my pig? Yada, yada, yada. So they go through. And he ends up at this The thing that really tripped me out was that they end up at kind of like a fighting, like an underground food industry fighting match, like in the basement back of some building, right? So Nicolas Cage goes back there. Everyone sees him, right? The room gets quiet. There's waiters, valets, chefs, busboys. They're all standing around. They're seeing people fight. Nick Cage goes in and writes his name on the board. Everybody in the room goes silent. The person who's running it is just angry, right? He's just angry at Nick Cage. Like they had a talking earlier. He, for some reason, which is actually never explained, or maybe I don't think it was explained, as to why a lot of people don't like Nick Cage as a person. Or like in here, like in, his character. It's like some people treat him with the utmost respect. And then there's this guy at this fighting ring who just has contempt for him. Like Nick Cage buys his food, gives it to him in this tent, and the guy just gives it back to him and, fuck off. And so when he's in this fighting thing, all that happens is that he stands, this little guy, I'm talking about, this man has to be like 5'2", basically just starts wailing on Nick Cage, boom, 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 in the face. This is where Nick Cage gets really bloody and all that. And so he goes to the guy who's working it, who he gave food to earlier, and the guy, after Nick Cage takes this beating, gives him the information that he wants.
Or my pig.
It's like, why did Nick Cage have to take a beating for you to give him this information if you're just willing to give it up? Like, this whole scene makes zero sense. So anyway, it goes on, and it turns out, right, Amir is with him the whole time. And basically it turns out Amir's dad is the one who took the pig. And Nick Cage, of course, is all mad because Amir didn't say anything. But Amir's dad is made out to be this like ruthless food industry guy. He's really ruthless. People are scared of him. Even Amir doesn't want to mess with him, right? And throughout the thing, we learn a little bit about Amir, that his mom is sick. He doesn't have that good of a relationship with his dad. And one of the things that he talks about is when his dad and mom were kind of having a tough time, they went to this restaurant and had the best meal that they ever had. And it turned out that Nick Cage was that chef. He was the one who made his mom and dad that meal. So what do they end up doing? Nick Cage somehow gets all the ingredients, all right, for that meal that he made years and years and years ago. They go to Amir's dad's house. He makes the meal. Well, first, he asks about his pig. And Amir's dad's like, listen, you're not getting your pig back. I'll give you $25,000. And Nick Cage is like, no, I want my pig. And then that's when somehow the conversation gets to food. And Nick Cage makes the meal, right? And this guy again, and the man's name is Darius. That's the ruthless food guy. Once he eats this, he eats this meal and he's completely moved by it. I guess it reminds him of that time when he was in love with his wife and this and that. Because his wife isn't dead. You think that she's dead, by the way that Amir talks about her earlier, but you find out that she's in like some nursing home, but you don't find out why she's in that nursing home. But anyway, so Darius is moved by this meal and confesses to Nick Cage that the pig is dead. The people who took the pig so Nicolas Cage's pig is actually dead. The people who took it at the time, I guess, roughed up the pig to the point that it was useless, so he ends up killing it.
Junkies, they're too rough. She died.
And I mean, that's really the end of the movie. There's no lesson learned. There's no payoff. No payoff whatsoever. The guy who took his pig gets an awesome meal, gets to memorize about a good time, and Nick Cage is dirty and bloody, and has no pig. And now he goes back to his home, Oh, and Nick Cage lives on because his wife actually did die. I wanted to like this movie. I did because I am a huge Nick Cage fan. And it wasn't a bad movie. Like, I wouldn't say that it was bad. It's probably worth a one-time watch. It is a slow movie, so if you're into, like, slow talkative movies, it'll probably be right up your alley. But if you were expecting this to be a bunch of action, it's not. Like, honestly, if you think of every time John Wick shot, stabbed, pencil-dyed somebody, Nicolas Cage just sat there talking very slowly, very deliberately about something. And that's it. That's Pig. Nick Cage loses his pig. He finds out who took it. Pig is dead. And that is Pig, everyone.